the surgery bodies are going out of style.
They're saying that anyone that has a BBL now looks like somebody's auntie.
Isn't it just mad that BBLs and being thick is out and skinny is in? Like, women's bodies is out and another type is in.
Y'all went and got bodies built like us and now we're out of style.
I feel like I'm not even gonna follow trends anymore. I'm just gonna do what I think is cute for my body.
If it feels like women's bodies are constantly going in and out of style, it's because they are. One year there's a right silhouette, the next year it changes. Not because the people change, but because the trends did. And those trends don't just affect clothes anymore. They decide which bodies get praised, which get ignored, and which get quietly criticised online. What used to happen slowly through fashion magazines now happens instantly through algorithms. TikTok didn't invent this idea, but it did turn it into a non-stop cycle where millions of people see the same standards, repeat them, and reinforce them every day. In this video, I will be deep diving into how women's bodies became fashion trends in the first place, why TikTok has made the system more powerful than ever, and what it actually does to the people caught inside it, whether they realize it or not. Hi babes, my name's Taja, mother of twins, lover of luxe things, and your guide for showing up with style and intention. It seems that we are currently living through the death of the BBL trend, and out of the death of the BBL trend, there seems to be a lot of conversation around body types being trends, because you know we're moving into skinny talk land now, right? All the girls want to be tiny, skinny now. The BBL is no longer a trend. Actually, they're calling the BBL girls aunties, which hilarious, but we're going to get into that a bit later on in the video. But I thought that it would be interesting for us to critically think, for us to dig a little bit into how we actually got here. Okay, how did we get to the point where you're trendy or fashionable based on the body type that you have, which is wild, right? So we're going to go through the timeline and discuss a bit what is exactly happening and how you can save yourself all the trouble of being swept up into all of these very unrealistic, problematic trends. I'm old enough to remember a time where the most popular body trend or the beauty standard for women was big boobs. Really big boobs, no hips and legs. Okay, and fashion around that time, I'd say that was around maybe the 90s, around that time-ish, 90s, noughties-ish, right? Around that time, the it girls were the Pamela Andersons. If you're based in Britain, it was the Jordans. Newspapers used to have page 3 girls. So the page 3 girl here in Britain is basically a model who would be topless on page 3 of the newspapers, and it always featured very busty women, okay? So in order to fit the beauty standard, you had to be white, you had to be blonde, you had to have big boobs, and you had to have legs. You had to have very slim, almost like pencil legs. There was actually, I think, a saying around that time where you wanted to have pencil legs, right? So you had the pencil legs. I even remember people talking about I mean, I was a child during this time, but I remember people talking about wanting to do things to make their bum and their hips more narrow, if you can believe it, right? So the girls wanted to have narrower hips. They wanted to have long legs. Around that time, what was very popular was the mini skirt, okay? So you'd have the mini skirt, the very, very long legs. And this came after the heroin chic-y trend, right? So before this trend, it was the super skinny, almost ill-looking women was the thing. Then we moved from that into, okay, now you need super, super long legs, no bum. I remember watching an interview and the guy was like, no, I'm looking for a woman. I need her to not have, the bum needs to not be too big. Okay, crazy, okay? Very questionable taste, right? But the bum needs to not be too big. I need very big boobs. So the girls were going, they were having the surgeries to get the very, 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 very big boobs. And some of the fallout of that trend was that the ladies were having their nipples falling off. They were getting infections from maybe the implants leaking, or there's something called breast implant syndrome, I believe, where ladies were just getting sick. They were not sure why. And by process of elimination, they were able to figure out that it had to do with their breast implants. Breast implants were popping. Ladies were getting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 surgeries to go bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. right? That was the beauty standard. I don't think there has been, especially in the West, much of a change around, you know, you want to be white, you want to be blonde, you know, you want to be pretty, that kind of thing. Because, you know, around that time we had the Pammies. I do love a bit of Pamela Anderson. They had the Pammies, we had the Britney Spearses. A bit later on, we had the Christina Aguileras. At some point in time, there's always a blonde woman who is posted as, you know, she's the beauty. Okay. After this, what happened was social media, right? So everybody started getting online, and not only were you able to get online on your computer, but you started to be able to get online on your phone. Okay, so now you're online at home on your phone, and what followed that was you can get social media access on your phone. Guys, I talk a lot here about social media being the bane of luxury brands' lives, but actually I think for the ruling class, or for those who have the most power in society, social media has really effed up their shit. Okay, it's really put spanners in the works, okay, because the two main ways to control people is to keep them ignorant and to not educate them. Okay, America. So if you can affect the way that people are taught, or limit people's access to education, and also limit their access to the other, you can keep them controlled. You can tell them what you want to tell them, you can make them believe what you want them to believe, and that ultimately keeps you in power, right? Which, sidebar, because this video is not about politics, but sidebar, which is why there is now a phenomenon of people that I would place in positions of privilege rioting, okay, being very, very upset all over the world, right? Very, very upset for similar reasons to each other, right? There's a similar theme amongst them, okay? And part of the reason for this, I think, is social media, because what happened was the girls got online and they realized that actually there's a big wide world out there, and as part of this big wide world, there are beautiful women that aren't white and blonde. Okay, they're not white and blonde, they look a different way, and with that also came at the same time the rise of the influencer, right, which of all influencers, I'd probably say Kim Kardashian was, at least at that time, became the most popular, right? So we've got the Kim Kardashian-y kind of person, influencers, also rising in popularity. A lot of American Black culture started to become more popular in places outside of the Americas, okay? And this was all happening online. So now the beauty standard that existed mainly in the West, right? Because this narrow hip, fair skinned, fair hair image of beauty is not one that necessarily existed in places that mainly had brown people in them. Yes, there's colorism, but I think that's a slightly separate conversation, right? So in the West, where the aim was, you know, to lean into the no hip big boobs, right? They got online and they were like, oh, actually, you know, the hips and the bum actually gives a natural hip and bum. Okay, I've had lots of you in the comments saying, oh, you know, I'm naturally hippie, I'm naturally, yeah, nice, okay? Nice, beautiful, brown skin, beautiful, right? So they're online, they're seeing it, they're seeing the influencers. Clearly, some of the influencers, like the Kim Kardashians, like the Kylies, absolutely influenced by Black culture, right?
BBLs were designed and inspired by the body shapes of naturally curvy women, which are pretty much women of color. You look at all these types of women of color that have naturally small waists and naturally big hips and big butts. That is what the BBL came from, because people wanted that body type when the 2000 skinny went out of style.
And so it shifted to, okay, I need a bum. I need a bum. The bum needs to be big. I need a tan. I need full lips. Okay, I need the injectables, I need the Botox. We moved into, I need to look ambiguous, which I usually have a problem with the term ambiguous, because I feel like it's a nice way of saying I need to look black. Okay, I know, controversial guys, I know, don't fight me, right? Because what the girls are trying to achieve with having fuller lips, with having darker skin, you know, sometimes it goes unsaid, but I'm here to speak to you guys as frankly and as honestly as possible. I don't think that we do ourselves any favors by being in denial. okay? And I really do think that winners deal with the truth. So I think because there's all kinds of beauty, okay, and part of there being all kinds of beauty, there's also black beauty, okay? So there was influences from other places that sat outside of the West that meant that the ladies saw, okay, more ladies saw that there is a way that you can be beautiful and have a more curvaceous figure. I think this was also kind of exasperated by influencer culture where the girls were living the lavish lives, okay? I think the Kardashians get blamed a lot, but it wasn't just them, right? All different types of influencers were doing content where they live in a lavish life and they obviously look enhanced, okay? I know there was a time where there was a lot of conversation around, has this person got work? Hasn't this person had cosmetic surgery? And again, I feel like for whatever reason, sometimes we're not okay with just being honest. A lot of the time, we can tell. You can look at someone, maybe not somebody who has had slight enhancements, but you can usually look at someone who's had a facelift and see that something is off. Something's changed. It's not necessarily a conversation about whether they look better or worse, but you will notice that something has changed. So we went through a phase where all the girls were lying. The Victoria Beckhams, she lied. The Kylies, she lied. Lots of celebrities were lying. Okay, Kim lied and continues to actually over that BBL, okay? They won't say that they've had any work done, but clearly they were having work done. Also, I find that celebrities, people in general really, play a lot of semantics when it comes to wording. Drea Michelle actually did this for a while where people were asking her, have you had a BBL? And she'd say no, because she hadn't, okay? What she had was injections, okay? But the people weren't asking that. The people were asking, have you had a BBL? Okay, and the answer was always no. However, I don't actually always think that these personal brands, right, celebrities as personal brands, have a duty to tell us when they've had surgery. And actually, if I was a celebrity, I would not even entertain the conversation. Okay, don't interview me if you're going to ask me if I've had surgery. If it's something that I don't want to admit to, I just would not entertain the conversation, because really it's business. Okay, so if I decide to get 10 surgeries so that I can sell you this outfit or I can sell you this lifestyle, it is a business decision. And I do understand that some of the behavior of influencers has an effect on other people, right? It's all in the name of influencer, right? They influence people. However, I honestly think that there is some responsibility that we have to take for ourselves. If you have lived a little, right, and you've had a few life experiences, you'll realize that most of the times people don't do the right thing. Okay, I don't know what's going on with humans, okay, but most of the time when they are given the opportunity to do the right thing, they don't do it. So to rely on influencers, businesses, to rely on people, to rely on strangers that you don't know, to be honest and to look out for your best interest is very short-sighted. Okay, and this is coming from somebody who makes content online, right? I make content online, I care about you guys, I do my best to be as honest and frank as I can, right? I feel like we could all be getting more if we were moving through life intentionally, especially when it comes to how we present ourselves. However, I would expect you and I would implore you to have a reasonable amount of skepticism about what I tell you. I wouldn't encourage you to believe every single thing I say. Okay, I would encourage you to ask questions about what I say and ask questions about what I might promote and ask questions about how you are allowing me to influence you. Right? Because although in the ideal world, it would be great for influencers or celebrities to think, you know what, I want to teach everybody to love themselves. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just be myself. I'm going to not get any surgeries. Maybe for somebody that would be an ideal way for a celebrity or influencer to be, but it's not real life. And if I'm super honest with you guys, if I was a celebrity who had a personal brand, who was working with brands, my focus would be on presenting my brand in the best way possible. Okay, so if that means I need to make sure I have facials 5 days a week, I need to have Botox 3 times every 6 months, or whatever it is I felt like I needed to do to make sure that I was presenting my brand in the way that I wanted to, that would be my focus. My focus wouldn't necessarily be on if this is making you feel bad. Okay, which is why here I encourage all of you guys to go outside. And this does not, I'm not saying this in a condescending way, like, oh, we need to go outside and touch grass in a rude way. What I mean it literally. We have to go outside, because what happened was we moved from the boobs, okay, into the bums. And what is happening now is the bums, the BBL, the wearing crop top polyester leggings that are a bit see-through, showing the cheeks, all of that now, the people are saying now that means you're an auntie. Can you imagine the audacity? Okay, you guys on the internet have encouraged me, okay, person who's got a BBL, or promoted to me or influenced me into believing that this is the beauty standard. I've now gone, I've risked my life, okay? Risked my life, I've got into debt, I've cut off things, I've added things, I've moved things around in my body, okay? Sometimes multiple times. And now I've done it and I've got to the end, you're telling me I look like an auntie. It must be a joke. Okay, it has to be a joke, which is why it's important to go outside, because when you go outside, you realize that what you have sight of and what influences how you feel about yourself, or what you see as the beauty standard, or what you see as aspirational, really has to do with where you are. It has to do with where you are in the world. It has to do with the community you sit in. It has to do with your access, okay? And so sometimes it's very easy to be like, okay, I'm in this environment and everyone's got a BBL, or I'm in this environment and everybody's blonde with blue eyes. Okay, I'm in this environment and everybody looks this way and they are held up as beautiful. And so in order for me to be beautiful, I have to look like these people. And it's not true. If you go outside, and when I say go outside, I mean, yes, socialize, but also if it's possible, travel. Okay, doesn't mean it has to be luxury travel or anything like that. If you can get on a flight and go somewhere, okay, just to look around, look at how the people are living, try and understand the culture, right? So one of the things I really enjoy doing, when you go traveling or you are able to go outside and socialize with other people, you realize that what is being fed to you, even down to the news that you are fed, okay, has a lot to do with where you are in the world, who you socialize with, who you're surrounded by. All of that affects what you perceive to be aspirational. And then what we're going to do is we're going to critique our thought process, okay? Because I definitely think we've moved away from it being okay to be critical of yourself, and the thoughts that you have. So what we need to do is, when we decide that, you know, what I've got is not good enough, I want that, then the question is always why? What do you want it for? Okay, why do you want a big bum, and what does it mean for you to have that? Does it mean that you feel like you look more luxurious, you're going to attract a man, or you're going to attract a certain type of man? All of these kind of things. And also, why? You know, why do I feel that way? And then after you ask yourself why a few more times to actually figure out what is the root cause, what is the actual reason for why you want to change what you have. I think it's normal, guys, to not always like what you look like, okay? It's normal. The woman that you see that has what you perceive the most beautiful body sometimes wakes up and has things that she would like to change, okay? It is normal human behavior. Nobody is born and thinks to themselves, you know what, I love everything about me. I love it all, okay? Loving yourself is something that you have to learn. That doesn't mean that it's normal to hate yourself necessarily, but it's okay to have things about yourself that you would prefer if it was a different way, okay? That thought in itself is not problematic, in my opinion. What happens after that thought is where the problems start coming in. Because if I say to myself, okay, I'm quite tall, I'm 6 foot tall, right? I don't like my height. There have been times in my life where I wanted to be shorter. Okay, not now, but there have been times in my life where I wanted to be shorter. Okay, so I want to be shorter. I can't be shorter. Okay, I was born this way. I cannot be shorter. However, if I really, really wanted to, there's surgery where you can, you know, break your legs. You could break your legs, they can saw down your bones and put the leg back together, and I can be shorter. I have to think to myself, okay, I don't love being as tall as I am all the time. Am I willing to risk my life? Am I willing to mutilate myself to make myself 2 inches shorter? No. No. So guess what happens? I have to live with it. I have to live with it, isn't it? I have to live with it, and I have to try and figure out a way to lean into accepting things I cannot change. I'm not willing to do it. Okay, I'm not willing. And if I were willing to do it, then the question I have to ask myself is why? Why would I be willing to break my legs, okay, to be 2 inches shorter, when instead what I could do is accept what I can't change and find ways to enjoy my unusual height? And now I enjoy being an outlier. Right? I enjoy being not average height. I'm not average height, and that's okay with me. I actually quite like it. I don't think that we are encouraged enough to sit in our discomfort. If there is something about yourself that you don't like, that you could try to change it within reason, right? So if I don't like having short hair, I could work on growing my hair. If I don't like not having athletic legs, I can work on having athletic legs, right? So there's within reason things, right? Which I would recommend doing first, okay? Trying to do those things first. If those things are unsuccessful, there might be something about just waiting, okay? Because the way the brain develops, something that you don't love at 20, okay, could be your favorite feature at 35. Okay, so sometimes it is worth just thinking to yourself, you know what, I don't love that about myself. However, I'm just gonna ride it out. I'm going to ride it out. Life experience will teach you, exposure will teach you different perspectives. So, okay, I don't like that I'm tall. In this community that I live in, I don't like that I'm tall. It's not the beauty standard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to live my life the best way I can. I'm going to travel as much as I can. And I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to think about it again in 2 years. Okay? I feel like, especially with surgeries, we have become so desensitized to the risk that is around surgery and how it can take your life and or ruin it.
Secreta Tolliver traveled from Chicago to the Dominican Republic for her BBL. She died from internal bleeding while recovering from the procedure last month. 26-year-old Janisha Jayla Williams got surgery for both a BBL and a butt lift in 2021. Sadly, she never woke up once the surgery was completed.
And at the end, you are left, in some cases, with a body or a form that you are still not happy with. And in this case with the BBL, is now not trendy. Now they're calling the BBL girls aunties, and we're moving into skinny talk land now. So now, guys, now the trend is to be skinny. There's this creator called Georgie who's talking about BBLs being for aunties now. Hilarious.
Does BBLs give
guys.
auntie now? I saw something on Instagram where somebody said that BBLs are essentially for aunties now. And it made me think about whether the BBL is now a generational indicator.
Okay, so basically she's saying that she's not sure whether the BBL is like a generational indicator. Guys, the reason why I find it funny is because you either have to laugh or cry. Okay, because there are people who have literally lost their life, okay, because they wanted this BBL so bad, okay? They wanted the BBL so bad. They wanted the look. They wanted the luxurious look so bad. And there's something about the way that society almost, I don't know if it's age shames or there's just this thing around age and women, okay, that men don't experience. So it's like, now you've gone and done the thing that we've told you is the most beautiful thing to do, and now we're going to tell you that you're old, ultimately. You're old, you're out of touch, you don't get it, you're not stylish, you're not all of those things, when people have literally paid the ultimate price. It's crazy.
The way that, say, 80s hair, for example, is of a time. This hair is not timeless. It reminds you of a specific decade. Are BBLs the same? Are they the 80s hair of the 2010s decade? And it's not that BBLs look bad. Some of them look amazing. They don't.
Some BBLs do look okay. I haven't seen an amazing one, but some of them do look okay.
Amazing. They don't necessarily look current or youthful.
So apparently they don't look youthful anymore.
The new gen of it girls is this performatively messy, I'm so gorgeous, I don't even...
Yeah, because the Gen Zers, or the ones that come before the Gen Zers or after the Gen Zers, they're doing disheveled now. Skinny and disheveled.
Need to try. I don't even need to take off last night's makeup, let alone inject fat into my rear end. It's the whole, we just happen to put things on that look exquisite and gorgeous. We're not seen to be trying.
Yes, so the fashion trend now is definitely leaning more towards, I just woke up like this, I'm easy in terms of my styling, relaxed styling, not showing too much. But actually I've been seeing a lot more midriffs, right? So now we're doing more midriffs, maybe a bit of leg, a bit more, not too busty, not too bummy, absolutely not too bummy, and definitely not wearing things that are too tight.
For BBLs, it's the exact opposite. You've obviously tried to fit a certain mold. The effort and the money involved is literally on display on your body. Even this specific pose, I think, marks you as above a certain age.
And the pose, you know, the girls, they love to pose, you know, with their bum towards the camera and looking over the shoulder, means that you're aged. Guys, that is so crazy.
The way that wearing Republican makeup marks you as a woman of a particular generation. It's not about the technique itself. The liposuction and fat transfer combo is here.
Basically, she's saying that if you have a BBL and you pose from the back, you know, it's try hard now. And you're a woman of a particular age. And I'm loving, but not really loving. Okay, the way that being older is used is almost as a critique. You don't want to look older, you want to look youthful all the time, even though we're all aging. It's all a bit weird. There's a social media personality called Ferry. She's British, so you guys who are based in the US, you might not know her. However, she had a BBL and she got it removed. So you can see her posing from the back, as we now know is the older generation's way of posing.
I'm showing off the new jumpsuit.
You are showing off. You're strutting around the house, aren't you?
Yeah, I want you to compliment my new jumpsuit. I've just got that was less than 14 quid.
Less than.
Yeah, so she's got the BBL uniform on, kind of. I mean, the jumpsuit does have a flare on it, so she's got this all white jumpsuit on with a scrunch butt, okay, and she's showing off her bum.
£14 to look that good, you can't beat that, can
well, so you didn't need to go to Dior or Gucci. You could literally spend 14 quid on TikTok shop. And then this is me after I've...
And then she got it removed, which is her choice, right, to get it removed. I think that women, celebrities in particular, who are personal brands, who have enough money to go and hopefully pick a surgeon who is at least going to carefully handle their life. If they have the ability to remove the BBL and that's what they want to do, then fine. I don't know that the conversation is about whether she looks good or not in this video. I don't think that's the conversation. I think the conversation is more about how fashion and bodies are being intertwined with each other. Okay, so in order to not look outdated, you need to not have a BBL now. Okay, in order to look like whatever society is saying is the beauty standard, or whatever the society now believes to be fashionable, you need to not have a big rump, you know, a big behind back there.
Removed and my hips.
And apparently she had hips added. Guys, have you ever seen, when the girls have the hips added, I have never ever seen that look natural. Every time I see one, I always kind of lean my head to the side a bit. It never really looks natural to me.
Look so much better. Like when I watch that video back, it actually makes us really upset.
I think she does look better.
That I actually put my body through so much to try and feel perfect when I didn't even look normal, like I wasn't even myself.
So she was trying to look perfect. I would implore all of us, okay, perfection is never the goal. If your starting position is one where you are aiming to be perfect, you're gonna fail. It's just not gonna happen. Okay, because what happens is when you start, your idea of perfection looks a particular way, and as you move forward, your idea of perception just keeps morphing. I don't know, I think it's just something about being human. It keeps moving, and so every time you make a decision about what you need to do to become perfect, whether that's getting a BBL, getting your boobs done, whatever, right, when you come to the end of doing the thing, now there's something else that you now need to do. The aim shouldn't be perfection, the aim should be continuous improvement. Okay, all you want to do is get to a place in life where every day you're doing a bit better, every year you're doing a bit better, and then accumulatively you'll get to a place where you are more happy than you were before. I mean, I hate to break it to you guys. It's obviously not to upset anybody, but ultimate happiness, you know, I'm just happy with everything. I'm never sad about anything. I love everything about myself and about my life. In my experience, is absolutely unachievable. It's never a place I've ever been. Okay, there's always something I wanted to be slightly different. Okay, and so I think the best advice is to just be okay with that. It's okay to want things to be a little different. What the focus should be on is on the things you can control. So if there are things in life that you would like a little bit different, and there's a way that you could do that reasonably that's within your control, then you focus on those things. But, you know, aiming for ultimate perfection, I think, is just a loser's game.
I feel so much more comfortable now in my own skin. Like, God, I'm not 100% there yet. I know I'm not, but I'm on the right path. Like, I can feel my spark coming back. But yeah, this is...
And that's good for her. Okay, because we want the girls to love themselves. No matter what you look like, no matter if you've got a BBL, if you haven't got a BBL, the aim is not to dislike yourself. The aim is to think critically about the decisions you're making and if it is getting you to where you want to be. Okay, and if where you want to be is actually a good place to want to be. I just think that sometimes we allow social media to influence us so much when what we need to be doing is logging off, because most of us humans don't know what we're doing anyway. Okay, so we've got the girls looking at the Kim Kardashians thinking, you know, I want to be just like her. Kim's probably somewhere not entirely happy with everything she has either. Okay, so it makes no sense to want to be just like her when she sometimes doesn't want to be just like her. Okay, it's normal to not want to be 100% of what you have, right? What's most important is what you do after that, and whether how you're moving in life is actually getting you what you want.
The exact same outfit that I had on when I had my BBL, and you can see that just everything is just very, very, very different, especially the ass. So I've got a little bit of a cheeky
We can't pose like that anymore, Chloe.
one, especially with the scrunch one. These jumpsuits are the best because they always give you a little bit more of a lift and make your bum look a little bit more perfect.
Yeah, I know there's definitely been a trend with the scrunch bum. I don't mind. I feel like maybe around the house for me, a scrunch bum, yeah, maybe. I don't know if I'd ever wear one outside though. Would you guys?
Yeah, this is the exact same outfit that I wore. Was it last year? I think that was about Christmas time when I posted that video. And yeah, I just feel so much.
So the girls are getting the BBLs removed, and we've moved into skinny talk era. We've moved into skinny talk era, so I thought we could look at a few of the girls talking about how they're staying skinny. Guys, I think I may have an uncommon opinion about this skinny talk trend because, again, I feel like we need to log off. If we are online, okay, and we are following creators that are making us feel so unhappy with ourselves that we are mistreating ourselves, whether that's not feeding ourselves enough, having goals that are unrealistic or that are harmful to us, then what we need to do is log off. I do understand that there are some people who feel like what we should be doing is critiquing these creators. You know, if you're on Skinny Talk TikTok and you are making content about, oh my gosh, it's so bad to be fat, you know, I need to be skinny, or I need to, whatever it is that you find is offending you. I do understand that there are some people who feel like we should just, you know, those creators shouldn't be there anymore. And in some ways I hear it, I understand it, but I just feel like it's unrealistic. There are always going to be people who say things that you don't agree. And in the age of social media, there are always going to be people who say things that you don't agree with, who say things that are offensive, who say things that are harmful, who say things that if you take on what they're saying will make you loathe yourself. There will always be now those type of people online. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to manage that, right, or regulate that. But I think that there are lawmakers and other people who have that as a focus. And sometimes that's their focus as their day job, right? I think our focus as our day job should be understanding the game and navigating the game in a way that benefits us. So navigating the game in a way that benefits us and that protects us. You have to get to a point where you have a level of self-assurance, a level of self-love, right? That whether you're skinny, whether you're fat, whether you've got more weight on you, whether you've got less weight on you, that if some random girl on your TikTok pops up and says, oh, you don't want to be fat, you know, it rolls off your back. What does it mean? It's the internet. Okay, chances are a lot of these creators are trying to get attention, okay? And a lot of content creators use your outrage to make a ton of money. So there's this creator called King Krabby Patty who has quite a lot of views.
The voices in my head told me not to work out today, and then I was like, oh, shut up, chubby cheeks. You're 22 years old and look like you haven't lost your baby fat yet.
Okay, so ultimately, I mean, this isn't really my type of content, guys. I know skinny talk is a thing, but I have had no sight of it on my social media. And actually, a way you can ensure that you don't have nonsense across your social media is to just don't engage, guys. Don't go in the comments and rage, okay? Don't give your opinion. Just scroll. Especially on TikTok, just scroll as fast as you can and you won't ever see it again. So of course, to share with you guys, I've seen this creator, but before now I've not seen this creator, and what she's saying is basically she's going for a walk because she told herself she was fat. I mean, one, I think it's rage bait. Again, I think how offended you are by this kind of content has a lot to do with what's in your bubble, right? And your own life experience. I'm not personally offended by her saying that she's walking because she told herself that she was fat and she needs to go and make sure that she doesn't look like she's still holding on to her baby fat. I understand how maybe somebody who is holding on to their baby fat or feels as though they are fat, right, could be offended by somebody else not wanting to look like them. However, I just think that there are always going to be people who don't want what you have. Okay, whether that's skinny, I hear some people saying, oh, you know, I don't want to be skinny. I don't want to be too skinny. I don't want to look like I don't eat. I want to stay this size. I don't want to be that size. And then on the other side, the people that say, okay, I don't want to look that big. I don't want to be big. I want to be skinny. Okay, cool. Most of it's about attention. Okay, and most of it is about finding an audience, finding your audience, finding people who see things the way that you do. Okay, but ultimately none of these things should matter, and none of these things should affect you if you're doing your work. If you're putting down your phone, you're logging off of social media, and you're taking care of your health, and you're making sure that you are doing things to make you as happy as possible, spending time with your loved ones, spending time with your friends, everything will fall in place if you are able to focus inwards. When you're focusing on random girl online talking about she wants to go walking because she doesn't want to feel fat, okay, if that's what she wants, okay.
Get the flying fuck out of bed and act productive for literally half an hour of your day.
It's important to be active every day, okay? I know she's effing and blinding, right? So maybe you don't like the delivery, don't watch her. Okay, because a lot of these people that have this kind of terse delivery grow in popularity because people engage. This video has like 1.2 million views. Okay, so the people are watching, the people are engaging. And so when the people watch and the people are engaged, that is motivation to continue doing the thing. I'm sure she has loads of other videos where she's effing and blinding because it's effective.
Biggest ops are the voices in my head telling me to be fat. Not today, Satan in my head, not today.
And also, if I'm just thinking about her ultimate point about, you know, the voices in her head telling her to... This thing about the voices in the head thing is actually a thing, okay? You will try to make a decision that's usually around having some kind of discipline, and you will have a voice in your head that's like, you're tired. You're tired, you can't do it, you're tired, stay at home, okay? And what focusing inwards will give you is some discipline and actually the ability to quiet that noise. So you might not use all the swear words she's using, right? But there's a way that you can say to yourself, which I do all the time. I say to myself, you know what, I am going to the gym, okay? Which I do 3-4 times a week. I'm going to the gym. I go whether I want to, I go whether I'm tired. I'm actually going to go after this right now, okay? I just go. I don't even reason or rationalize with myself. I go because I know that staying active is something that I need to have longevity. Okay, and the ultimate aim is to live for as long as I can. There's another one.
So basically, what I learned from Skinny Talk is that in order for you to get your waist snatched, in order for you to be skinny, you don't need Ozempic. You need to break up the relationship with food. Yeah.
I think that there are some people like this creator who is getting from Skinny Talk that what you need to do is break up your relationship with food, which, guys, I don't necessarily disagree with. You know, some of us, okay, have relationships with food that are not healthy, that are linked to our emotions, that are linked to self-soothing, that are linked to just enjoyment all the time, okay? And ultimately, that doesn't get us to where we want to be, which is the focus. It should always be the focus. Where do you want to be and what do you have to do to get there? Okay, and sometimes what you have to do to get there is push the plate away. Okay, sometimes that is just what we need to do. So there's a lady called Trin that's talking about what she eats in a day.
This is everything I eat in a day as a skinny legend. Yep, you heard me. The word skinny. Kisses for the haters.
Okay, and so she says she's saying the word skinny for the haters. Guys, I don't know what's going on online, to be honest. There seems to be a visceral response that people have towards people who say that they want to be skinny, and I don't get it. Guys, I mean, it's really down to you, right? It's down to you what you want to look like. I do understand that people have a problem with some of the skinny talk creators promoting skinny as aspirational. Like, you know, the best thing to be is skinny. However, this is just an opinion. In my opinion, this is just an opinion. Okay, you can think that skinny is the best thing to be, and that's fine. And if I don't think that it is the best thing to be, I won't be skinny and I won't be watching your content. Those are the two things that are going to happen. But to get angry about it is not necessarily something I would do. I also do understand that there are some people who are vulnerable online who may internalize this kind of content and then it causes a problem for them. However, there are always going to be vulnerable people online. And so in some ways, I think our focus needs to be on how we can protect ourselves. Yes, there should be other people who want to protect us too, but we don't live in the ideal world and sometimes there's no one to protect us but us. Okay, so if you are taking in content that is making you feel so bad that you are willing to put yourself in harm's way, it's absolutely time to log off.
The beauty of life is we all get to choose what we want to do with it. Some people like to be fat and some people don't, but
that's true. Some people like to have long hair, some people like to have short hair. Some people like to wear black, some people don't like to wear black. I agree with that.
To start off, we had my coffee. Straight up for breakfast, I literally had a piece of steak. We really don't have that much food, so you gotta do what you gotta do. This is my
Yeah, she had steak for breakfast. I used to really need to have cereal for breakfast, but in order to make sure that I get as much protein as I need, I've actually started to have meat for breakfast, which sad times because I really love
oatmeal
some cereal.
With some blueberries, half a banana, oatmeal, and sugar-free syrup with, of course, some whipped cream on top. A little bit later, snacked on a protein bar. I do not eat with any restrictions. I eat whatever I'm feeling, but I do...
She says she doesn't eat with any restrictions. I personally think that the term restriction, or, you know, you'll have some skinny people, some slim people who will say, I eat everything. I think that a lot of the definitions for these terms are very, very subjective. Your version of eating a lot and my version of eating a lot, depending on the differences in our weight, right, can mean two very different things. Okay, your idea of not restricting and my idea of not restricting can mean two very different things. Okay, so in her opinion, she's not restricting, but maybe for somebody else who eats more, this would be restriction.
Try to aim for high protein, and I do eat within my calories. Again, no restriction. Here's a piece of chocolate. A little bit later, we went to a very expensive, healthy restaurant.
And also, you know, not to get into some of the illnesses that can be related to food, right, too much, because YouTube doesn't like that. But I think that there is a difference between restriction and boundaries. Deciding that you are not going to consume more than a certain amount, or deciding that you're not going to do more than a certain amount, whatever it is, okay, creating a boundary for yourself is not always bad. Actually, in some ways, a lot of the times is positive, okay, because especially when we get into adulthood, we can do all the things we want. Okay, no one's really around to tell us, other than the law, there's no one really around to tell us what we can or can't do. And so sometimes some people go off the rails because they're just letting themselves do all the things. Okay, and they don't realize that they've done too much of all the things until they crash out. Okay, or they're dead, or they're broke, they're filing bankruptcy, they're in harm's way, they're, I don't know, in hospital. Okay, then they realize, oh shit, I've done too much of the things. Okay, so having a boundary, saying, you know what, I'm going to eat this much and not more, to me, personally, is not what I would describe as a restriction. And even if it is a restriction, I don't think it's negative.
And this was called the Vitality. You know, it was delicious, but it kept me full for about 5 minutes. This cheese ball thing, it was pretty good. I wanted to document that because I felt hungry right after did not mean it was low calorie. In fact, it was actually not low calorie at all, and I ran out of calories. So I resorted to a rice cake and some sparkling water because that is on accountability.
Calories. Okay, fine. Again, I don't know tons about Skinny Talk. You know, I don't frequent that side of TikTok. So if you know more about Skinny Talk, you can let me know down in the comments below. But I thought it was an interesting conversation how we have moved from the BBL girls being aunties and the skinny, relaxed, disheveled ones being, you know, the new hip. I don't know, guys. I just think that we need to focus on ourselves and just being the best you. Being the best you can be is timeless.